Welcome back, Exiles. In today's beginner's guide, we are going to talk about everything you need to know about mana. So what is mana? Mana is a resource that all classes use to cast spells and abilities. Every class in Path of Exile 2 uses mana to cast spells or use abilities. Even a non-magic class such as the warrior will use up mana quickly, making it as crucial of a resource as your HP. It becomes increasingly important to manage as you level up and progress through the game. Your mana is represented by the blue orb on the right side of your screen. This drains whenever you use a skill. Different skills will use different mana costs, meaning some skills will use more mana than others depending on their power and functionality. For example, attack skills generally have lower mana costs compared to a lot of powerful spells. So let's take a look at Unearth, for example. So Unearth is an account spell that raises bones from the ground and attacks the enemy. You can also summon scorpions for your army if there is a corpse nearby and you use Unearth to hit them with a skill. This skill costs 8 mana, so it's generally very cheap. Let's also take a look at Contagion, which is a chaos debuff spell that damages enemies over time. This one costs 9 mana. Another important thing to note is that as you level up a skill gem, its mana cost often increases as well. So let's go back to Unearth. My Unearth skill is at level 1 and costs 8 mana. However, I can take it up to level 4. So as you can see, before leveling up, I'm given a preview of how that mana will increase. So it will go from 8 mana to 12 mana. My Flame War is currently at level 2, costing me 13 mana per use. If I take this up to level 4, it will now cost me 17 mana. Now this is very important to note because there are some very strong skills in this game that cost a lot of mana. Skills like the Warrior's Hammer of the Gods or the Monk's Flicker Strike cost a ton of mana because they are very strong skills. It's very important to always look at the mana cost because this can easily break your build if you're not investing as much mana as it takes to cast those particular skills. Some skills even double or almost double the mana cost per upgrade, which sometimes is just not worth it. So this is something very important to note before upgrading your skills. So now, just how exactly do you replenish your mana once drained in Path of Exile 2? Well, there are quite a few ways to do this, starting with mana flasks. So mana flasks are rechargeable potions that replenish your mana. Each use of a flask requires a certain amount of flask charges to be expended. Modifiers on flasks can adjust how it gains or uses its flasks charges or add additional effects when used. Now keep in mind, I will make a separate guide on life flasks and mana flasks. This is just a brief explanation on how mana flasks work in relation to replenishing mana for your character. You also have passive mana regeneration. So mana regenerates every second whether you're in combat or not. This is good because you don't want to solely rely on mana flasks for replenishing your mana, because if you just keep spamming your mana flasks, at some point you will run out. So it's good to have this passive, and you can further improve how fast your mana regenerates over time passively. You can do this firstly by choosing nodes on the passive skill tree that increase mana regeneration. So for example, like this one here that increases mana regeneration by 10%, pretty good. You can also get these mods on equipment. Increased mana regeneration rate, you can find it on body armor, gloves, and so on and so forth. At some point you want to have some really fast mana regeneration rate passively. So like when you're done with clearing a mob or you're done with a fight and you're on your way to the next fight, you can get some quick mana regeneration instead of using a mana flask. This helps quite a bit, but only do this if you think that your mana regeneration rate isn't as fast as you want it to be, because sometimes sacrificing mana regeneration rate might not be worth it instead of getting something like damage or life. So it all depends on your build. There are also a few support gems in the game that can give you increased mana regeneration, such as Clarity and Arcane Surge. You can also replenish your health through the use of a mechanic called Mana Leech. So in Path of Exile 2, Mana Leech is a mechanic that allows a character to recover mana based on the damage they deal to an enemy. So basically you can attack an enemy and regain mana at the same time. There are quite a few ways to do this. There's a support gem that allows attack skills to leech mana back to the player based on the damage they deal. You can also invest in passive skill tree nodes that have a bunch of Mana Leech if you try to dive deeper into a Mana Leech build. Specific Ascendancy classes as well dive deeper into Mana Leech, such as the Acolytes of Chayula, Ascendancy of the Monk. And finally, you can also get Mana Leech rolls from equipment. Keep in mind, I will make a separate video on Life Leech and Mana Leech as well, but for now, this is all you need to know concerning Mana Leech in relation to replenishing mana. Increasing your maximum amount of mana becomes crucial as you progress throughout the game as well. It might not feel like you're using a lot of mana in the beginning, but it can become a struggle to avoid running out of mana constantly as you level up. So just how do we increase our maximum mana in Path of Exile 2? First is by investing into the intelligence attribute. Every point of intelligence increases your maximum amount of mana by 2. So you can use the any attribute nodes in the passive skill tree to get more intelligence. These any attribute nodes give you +5 to your desired attribute. So +5 to intelligence equals 10 to your maximum mana pool. There are also some nodes that give you straight up intelligence or increase your maximum mana directly. Additionally, just as you can get increased mana recovery rate from equipment, you can also get an increase to your maximum mana from equipment as well. So weapons, armor and accessories can have a bonus to your maximum mana when you wear them. Not just that, armor can also have an intelligence bonus, which adds on to your maximum amount of mana. Remember, intelligence does give you mana as well. So in summary, as you level up, skills are going to get very expensive, and you are going to have to invest in increased mana recovery rate and increased maximum amount of mana. This is either going to come from mostly your equipment or the passive skill tree. It all depends on your build. Keep an eye on all those skills, how much mana they're draining, and if you find yourself running out of mana flasks all the time, you might want to invest in mana to improve your build overall. So this has been a basic guide to how mana works in Path of Exile 2. If you have any more questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section below. Any additions, any tips, any critiques, guys, please feel free. My next video will be on energy shield, so please look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching my videos, Exiles. If you made it this far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Support your boy, and as usual, stay sane, Exiles. GG.